Hello everyone, my name is Raminder. It's a pleasure to be here today. Excited to see the audience today. Thank you so much, Capital Carbon Consulting, for giving me an opportunity to share my experiences on DevOps and OCM. Two different topics, two different concepts, but how they tie together in driving effective communication across the enterprise. So the next 20-25 minutes is all about my experiences and thought process of how these two concepts are really relevant in an organization and how can we drive them effectively. But a lot before that, would like to introduce myself first. So this is me. My name is Raminder. I'm a DevOps practitioner. Um, IT age about 20 years now. I currently am working with HCL Technologies. I lead and manage the DevOps Center of Excellence, working with multiple customers globally. Spend a lot of time with the customers in mentoring their teams, transitioning them into the agile environment, helping them practice, the principles of CI/CD, helping them develop accelerators and integrations on open source COTS tool. I've been lucky in the past decade to work with customers in utilities, healthcare, telecommunication, retail kind of industries where I have provided them consulting on how can they effectively transform their organization into new ways of working, which is more agile driven, which has a lot of DevOps principles embedded in the system, a lot of automation framework that can help them optimize their processes and save a lot of efforts and time for them. But at the end of the day, the key goal is enabling customers to achieve agility and resiliency. Talking about my key interests, I do a lot of research and development. I still do a lot of coding, try to automate my own day-to-day repetitive tasks. I'm an active blogger as well. I coach teams, on different aspects as well, like Agile, DevOps, and CI/CD. So let's head towards our topic for the day today. Okay, so I spoke about two words today, DevOps and OCM. So let's spend few quick minutes on DevOps. So while DevOps is now no more a surprise, we all agree to that. But it is being understood and interpreted in different ways across different organizations. I do hear customers defining DevOps that, for me, DevOps is all about automation. If it's coming from an application world, they say for me, I have automated my continuous delivery, I have my continuous delivery pipeline, so I am DevOps. From an infrastructure perspective, I hear teams saying that today I am DevOps. Why? Because I have infrastructure as code. I have all my infrastructure being spun up with tools like Terraform, Ansible, and whatnot. But so if you see, different organizations have different interpretations. They have the different vision on how to attain DevOps. So some believe it's a practice wherein you're trying to bring teams together. Some believe it's a method to continuously keep improving and evolving. Some believe that it's a cultural shift, moving from a traditional waterfall kind of an engagement to more agile driven, more iterative, working with connected teams. It's when I say connected teams, it's more often related to DevOps equals development teams plus operations teams. But at the end of the day, what matters is your understanding. And my understanding is that DevOps is all about people, process, and tools. How can we actually bring teams together and help them work in an optimized environment and help them, achieve efficiency with tools and automation? Having said all that, there's nothing called right and wrong. It's just the way the organization has a vision and a plan towards adopting DevOps. In the recent years, you would also see in that the word DevOps is coming up with different terms. It's being reinvented with new terminologies. So now it's not just Dev and Ops team working together. They say, okay, DevOps and a security team works hand in hand. So it's DevSecOps. I have development and operations working closely with the network team. So it's a net DevOps. So irrespective of how the terminologies change, at the end of the day, it's all about how the teams work hand in hand with each other. They have a shared common vision. They're using optimized processes. They have visibility, right? They trust each other, right? They're accountable for their product deliveries. So that's what DevOps is all about. Let's now take a look at the second term of the day today, that is OCM. Okay, now when we say OCM, we're talking about organization change management. So at an organization, I want to release, information like new org changes, new policies being rolled out. So anything related to change is actually driven out by an OCM team. So an OCM is a small group of people in the organization who actually ensure that this message across the organization is floated, it's being rolled out effectively and smoothly. You definitely in your respective organizations would be receiving mailers, maybe every once a month or every week on certain new change that's happening at the org level, some leadership decisions that are being taken up. So all these different sets of information are being rolled out through a framework which is OCM. It's all about how do you manage and release this information right across the organization. In other words, we also believe that it's actually a discipline. It's about how do you roll out this information in a way that it is absorbed in a positive way. And every organization have these group of experts who are held responsible for releasing this information. It goes in a structural way. And now this team also has, a couple of documents, a defined set of approval mechanism, which is well thought through before rolling out this information or broadcasting it to a larger audience. So while there are a number of techniques available to process the change, right, which includes you either send emails, you either talk about training programs, you talk about rolling out something on your shared portals, right, sending out messages to teams and members, and all these different sets of information that's being rolled out. So that is OCM. Now let's try to see how these two different concepts, the DevOps and OCM, are related to each other. Okay, so we had a quick recap on the terms DevOps and OCM. Now we will look at our key agenda item today and try to understand the importance of ensuring that DevOps and OCM, they are connected with each other, and at what point of time you should start laying emphasis on OCM. So, so I'll start with this that, companies already are, matured on the DevOps journey, but it's more at a team level. I keep asking, customers that, okay, where are you on your DevOps journey today? So most customers come back to me and say that, okay, I am mature. I'm on a scale of 3 out of 5, on an average, you'll find. So now when you ask them that, okay, is your DevOps being run at an enterprise level? Do you have, a rationalized set of tools that's being, cultured and it is being practiced by all your teams? So these organizations come and say that we have started on that journey as well, but yes, it's still evolving. We are still trying to see what works best for our organization, which is absolutely right. Every organization has their own ecosystem of people and processes, and they definitely want to roll out the stuff in their own way. So now when I talk about DevOps again, if I want to scale my DevOps at an enterprise level, I definitely need a mechanism that helps me drive this initiative. So each team, for example, if I talk about, some teams, so I have a company that has 10 different product teams. Two of them have already started on their DevOps journey, but they're working in their own siloed way. So I have two DevOps teams. One is trying to develop on product X, the other on product Y. Both of them are working on, Scrum and Kanban kind of agile methodologies, right? But again, if I talk about the tools, they have invented their own set of tools. They've designed their own set of accelerators. Whether it is compliant in the organization or not, they are heading with their own path, right? I want to ensure that when I'm talking of DevOps at an enterprise level, I want to pay focus that my teams definitely adopt agile ways of working. They understand why are they getting agile. Second, definitely is I want to focus on using standardized set of tools, the delivery pipelines that are being thoroughly practiced and used consistently across different teams. So again, the thought is not to just have one common delivery pipeline, for example, something like an Azure DevOps based pipeline. Maybe 80% of my teams can still use Azure DevOps, but rest 20% may be legacy teams, or there could be teams that are not comfortable with Azure DevOps. They might go with some other tools, maybe like Jenkins or Octopus and whatnot. There are different sets available. So at some point of time at an enterprise level, I want to ensure that my delivery pipelines or my recommendation is, being clearly called out to the teams, and they don't have to invest or think of, exploring any new tool. There is something that's already being defined, it's already explored, it is well tested. So these two product teams that I'm talking about, though the tools that they're using is something that needs to be understood. We have to see that, okay, is it something that can be taken up and scaled to an enterprise level and being made available for the rest of the 8 teams. So to do that kind of an activity, to run through that initiative, we definitely want to ensure that there's common understanding of why are we doing this activity, why are we driving DevOps at an organization level, right? Why are we trying to rationalize or institutionalize the tools, right? The automation that's there. How can we relook at the processes that are to be optimized, right? All this is driven through with an effective OCM plan that's needed in the team. And while we are doing that, while we are rolling out this information that's going across different teams and spreading a lot, at the same time, we need to get back the feedback also from the teams, that do they actually acknowledge the relevance and the importance of doing that initiative. So the feedback, so one is rolling out the information and then collecting that feedback again. So that's where that OCM plays that foundational team that actually helps up carry on this message, carry on the understanding of the definitions of DevOps, right? And increasing the adoption of tools as well. So that's how the DevOps and OCM are connected with each other. Having said that, now let's take a look at what are the drivers or what are the different ways where we can step ahead and plan out for our OCM activities. Okay, so different organizations are going to have different methods, right? They're going to run the change, they're going to manage the change in their own way. But the most important aspect is that they need to understand that communication is really important. The leadership needs to get involved and support the journey right from its inception. And this has to be carried out at an enterprise level, which we spoke about ahead. But then what matters is again communication, an effective communication plan that can drive the change smoothly. So not many teams will align with the new change immediately, but we need to help them understand the new change with a purpose. Communicating the objective uniformly across the organization is important. So to fasten the DevOps adoption, the change in the delivery mindset needs to be made effective, and hence planning for this communication should be thought through. And that's where I spoke about the connection between DevOps and OCM. Talking about where to start this journey. So there are various communication channels that an organization leverages today to broadcast information. But what needs to be communicated and when it has to be communicated are important points to be considered. So based on my past experiences, I recommend 5 essential steps to be planned in an OCM for an OCM rollout. And that only gets successful when you have leadership support, when you have an executive support and sponsorship for those activities. So the first thing that's really important in your OCM plan is to come up with your organization's definition of DevOps and to an extent Agile as well. So the leaders in the organization should first understand that what does DevOps mean to our organization and why are we doing it, right? Is there a purpose behind running a DevOps culture? Do I really need to bring my teams together? Do I really need to overcome the traditional ways of working? Once the leadership agrees that yes, I have a purpose, I really have a mission to achieve, right? So they need to communicate that to the rest of the organization. They definitely have to see that, okay, now since DevOps is your cultural change that's happening, that's only possible when you bring in agility as well. So while there are multiple definitions in DevOps, you go to Google, you search on DevOps, you'll find tremendous, amount of information on different sets of definitions. But what matters is what the leadership thinks for the organization, right? So once the agreement is in place, then various channels should be energized with that information. So while emails are passive, there should be other channels that should be actively referenced by the teams. So right, so it could be, some shared portals. You can think of running some roadshows or workshops with the teams, right, where the teams keep looking out for the latest information and they get aligned with their organization's mission statement. And one step towards this is where you can increase your span of influence by identifying some change champions or the SMEs. So as I said, this OCM is going to be a very small team, maybe 5 people, 10-member team, again based on the organization structure, right? So now when these OCM people have a mission and a plan with them, they definitely would be rolling out this information in phases, and they need SMEs, they need change champions who can roll out this information and increase that entire the span of influence. So these SMEs are, agile leaders. These are the experts who can further evangelize the definitions, who can further broadcast this information to their respective teams. So for example, you may be, as part of your OCM, you may be rolling out certain email communication. The teams may not read it. The team is bombarded with their own priorities, but they definitely would hear their team leads, right, in meetings. So we definitely have to identify the team leads, the team sponsors or the product owners or managers who actually are given information about this new change that's coming up, and these leaders are mentored, right, so that they further communicate this information to the next level of people, next set of people in the team. So that's how you can increase the span of that information. So these SMEs definitely have to collaborate, right? They need to help up, build up a knowledge repo that will be the central source of truth as well for all the employees to refer. So moreover, with the DevOps organization, there is a need to relook at the roles as well. So I have seen in many customer engagements where there are new roles being created, there are new set of responsibilities where now since you are connecting the teams, right, there would be you would have seen areas where there is this a team structure where they say that I have a dev team and then I have an operations team. They are sitting over here. And then what I have is I have a DevOps team, which actually is a new set of people which is tying the development and operations again, right? So there are different patterns and different ways of creating an DevOps team structure. But ultimately, the goal is to just have one team, right? The concept of having one team. So when I'm thinking of that kind of a concept, an integrated team structure, this definitely demands for new roles and responsibilities. And again, it's a call at an organization level that how far you want to go. If there are new roles coming up, teams should be given opportunities, right? They should seek this as opportunities for growth in this new operating model. So this decision also needs to be shared with the teams, right? The If the operating model is getting relooked at, this information has to be rippled down to the teams. They should feel comfortable that okay, there is an upcoming change and they need to prepare themselves as well, right? Obviously at the better part. So that's one way that definitely needs to be looked at. um, Then we're talking about setting up a knowledge repository. In most organizations, I've seen SharePoint and Confluence being the two commonly used knowledge portals. This has to be regularly updated. We should look at ways of automating or publishing information regularly at these portals so that the team members can refer them at any given point of time. So I was talking about enterprise delivery pipeline. So if I have a diagram of it, which is being published and it is being broadcasted, it has to be recorded somewhere. So that information, so we need a knowledge repository also. We can also think of recording videos that are broadcasted across different TV channels if it's there at different flows in the organization. You can run these 2-minute or 3-minute videos as well that talks about this latest upcoming change, talk about the benefits related to it, what is the purpose behind it. So the OCM crew needs to release this information on a schedule, right? And while they run workshops, road shows, they also have to ensure that this information is centralized at some location so that it's referred by anyone in the organization. So these three essential steps are focused towards people awareness. So what I want to do is I want my people to be comfortable. I don't want them to feel demotivated that a new change is going to kill their job. No, not at all. The new change definitely is for their benefit. They should understand that, the essence of it. So, and ultimately the teams need to get comfortable with this new change. So that's why the OCM team needs to broadcast this information regularly, right? And instead of publishing everything in one go, it has to go in a phased manner. The change champions need to discuss the new terms with their teams, educate them, right, about the upcoming change that's there, right? And they definitely at some point of time would be moving away from the traditional methods. So all these three need not be in sequence, but another thread that would need attention is right, where you can either run them in sequence or you can run them in parallel. That's completely the way you want to run the show. So now with this people aspect, the other is, what about the tools? So now when we talk about tools, let's talk about archetype related definitions. Now what does this mean? So I spoke about this example where in an organization I had these two product teams, both of them using their own set of delivery tools. When my number of product teams, when I'm trying to upscale all these teams, getting them into at enterprise level, getting them into common understanding of DevOps, at some point of time I have to come up with my archetypes. And when I say archetypes, it's again an information that if you are an X kind of a project, what are the recommended tool sets for you? If you are a Y kind of a project, what are the other recommended tools? The recommended, approved, secured tools from the enterprise. So that's why we call it as archetype definitions. What are the tools that the enterprise recommends? What are the best practices related to it, and why are these tools being recommended? So that's where having those kinds of decisions are also important. You can also think of an organization says that I have 3 recommendations on pipelines. I have an open source related pipeline. I have a commercial pipeline, right? So project teams who can afford with that, who can budget for using a commercial tool for CI, CD, for automation. The sequence of tools is recommended to them directly. Teams who say that they don't have a budget for tools, they're only looking for open source related tools, but definitely they have to keep a tap of whether those open source tools are secure or not, right? So all these decisions are well thought through and rolled out to different teams well in advance. So they have this choice that, okay, I have archetype definition 1, 2, and 3, and and they can choose the one that suits them, right? And build the pipeline accordingly. So now the team should be relieved from this thought process that they have to do an R&D, they have to look out for a tool, they have to install the tool and whatnot. So there are a lot of activities where they spend time. So we want our DevOps teams to be to be focused on value. We want them to deliver with agility, right? And that's where we want their focus to be there. The other set of activities is where the organization can take a call, standardize it, and share this information amongst the team members. And we say this, last but not the least, what's important is the feedback. So while I'm talking about the people aspect, I'm talking about the processes. How can I create processes of adopting the tools that are there? Now I definitely need to hear the feedback from my teams. How comfortable are my teams? Do they really understand that the definition of DevOps, the archetypes that are being recommended? Do they actually receive emails also, right? You can think of running a poll question, right? You can either maybe think of running some quiz competitions. Maybe the first 5 winners are being recognized across the organization. You can think of giving them some goodies or something that is relevant for them, and spread the word in a positive way, right? And then hear back from them as well. And remember, we were talking about the change champions. These change champions can be those mediators as well, right? So they bring this feedback back to the OCM team. The OCM team looks at the feedback. They try to see that how can they themselves also improve on, doing better communications. And since this OCM team is working closely with the leadership, the executive team, they can share the feedback as well and see and look at how they can further improve the communication. So this is an evolving stage, right? So as we keep learning, right, the OCM team definitely has to share this with the entire organization. So right from, having your definitions, we spoke about definitions. What does DevOps mean to an organization? To identifying the change leads who are going to help the OCM team, roll out the information, to ensuring that the knowledge is consistent and it is actually driven down to different teams in a consistent manner without creating chaos, to having recommended set of tools which are being referred by teams, taking care of the feedback, of course, and listening back from the teams are, from my experience and from my past experience, I find that these are the essential steps that helps organizations to scale up on their enterprise journey. This can also talk about, having metrics, right? So when I talk about enterprise DevOps, I'm talking about enterprise level metrics. So for the leadership, they may be looking at, what is the average number, you know, the average number of defects, right? Where a cumulative number for all the 10 different product teams or the X number of teams that are there. So whether it's, defining those metrics, right, which can be rolled out, it's again consistent across the organization. So my ways of working are being, practiced in the right way by different teams. So these are just few experiences, right? There's nothing called right or wrong. There's nothing that has to be sequential. It can be parallel as well. But at the end of the day, you definitely need an OCM team. You need an OCM framework that can run these different initiatives and help the DevOps initiative become successful. Let's move to the next slide as well, which is my last slide for the day. Okay. So those were quick, insights about my experiences on DevOps and OCM. I'm here to answer any questions if you have. Would be glad to stay connected. Here are my LinkedIn and my, the blogging site where I do blogging on different technical aspects as well. I have my upcoming book which is coming up on Agile Ops. So you can reach out to me through these different channels. And I'm glad to be here. And once again, thank you so much for being so patient and being a very good audience. Thank you.